somewhere on the plains of northern China, on land that was mostly farmland and small villages just a few years ago, an entirely new metropolis is rising from empty ground. Skyscrapers, where there were once wheat fields, underground utility networks that stretch for kilometers, roads embedded with sensors that talk to self-driving vehicles, government complexes bigger than most airports, all of it built from nothing in less than a decade. This is Xiongan, and it is one of the most ambitious urban construction projects in human history. The total investment has already exceeded $100 billion, with projections reaching hundreds of billions more before it is complete. But money is not what makes Xiongan extraordinary. What makes it extraordinary is that most people around the world have never even heard of it. Until now. If you enjoy uncovering the massive projects reshaping our world that nobody is talking about, hit that subscribe button right now. GeoVector Insight publishes deep dives like this every week. Let me show you the metropolis that came out of nothing. Xiongan exists because of one massive problem. Beijing was breaking. For decades, Beijing had grown into one of the most crowded cities on Earth. Approximately 21 million people packed into an area that was designed for far fewer. The traffic became unbearable. The air pollution turned into a health crisis. Housing prices climbed beyond what most workers could afford. And critical government functions, universities, corporations, and research institutions all crowded together into a capital that could not hold them anymore. Chinese leadership faced a decision. Keep expanding Beijing, which would only make things worse, or try something no country had ever attempted at this scale. Build a completely new urban center on empty land, purpose-designed to absorb what Beijing could no longer handle. They picked a location approximately 100 kilometers southwest of Beijing. In April 2017, the government announced the project to the world. They drew borders on a map that covered nearly 1,770 square kilometers, more than twice the total area of New York City. And they gave it a name, Xiongan. Then the real work began. Building a city on empty land is nothing like renovating an old one. You have to solve every problem at the same time. Water, power, sewage, roads, housing, transportation, communications. Everything must work from day one. Most cities in the world grew organically over centuries. Streets curved because of paths people walked hundreds of years ago. Neighborhoods formed around old markets that no longer exist. Every modern city carries the fingerprints of its history, and those fingerprints create limitations that no amount of renovation can fix. Xiongan had no history to work around, which meant Chinese planners could design everything from the ground up without any of the compromises other cities have to accept. They began underground. Before major buildings went up in each district, engineers built massive utility corridors beneath the surface. These underground tunnels carry electrical cables, water pipes, internet fiber, sewage lines, and even automated delivery routes. In older cities, you have to tear up the street every time something needs to be fixed underground. In Xiongan, workers access everything through a clean underground network without ever disturbing the surface. Then came the roads, but not in ordinary roads. The streets in Xiongan are being built with sensors embedded directly into the pavement. These sensors monitor traffic flow in real time and communicate with vehicles and traffic signals to keep everything moving smoothly. The area was designed from the beginning to work with self-driving vehicles. The buildings themselves are just as advanced. Solar panels on rooftops, geothermal systems underground for winter heating, rainwater collection integrated into architectural design. Xiongan was created to prove that a modern urban environment can rely far more heavily on clean energy than the older Chinese cities that still depend on coal. Quick question for you before we continue. If you had the choice, would you rather live in a place designed this precisely from the beginning, or in an older city with all its imperfections and history? Drop your answer in the comments. I read everyone. By 2024 and 2025, Xiongan started to look like an actual functioning urban center. Where there were once wheat fields and small farmhouses, there are now wide boulevards lined with completed buildings. Government offices have moved in. Universities have opened campuses. Major Chinese corporations have built new headquarters. A high-speed rail line completed in December 2020 now connects Xiongan directly to Beijing, making the trip take approximately 50 minutes. Let me give you a sense of just how fast this has moved. The Xiongan high-speed railway station, which opened in December 2020, is one of the largest railway stations in Asia. It covers 475,000 square meters and can handle massive passenger volumes. Chinese state media has called it a signature building of the entire Xiongan project. To put that construction speed in context, most major train stations in Europe or North America take at least a decade to plan and build. Xiongan's flagship station was fully operational within 3 years of the project being announced. Then there is the Xiongan Business Service Center. This is a multi-building complex that was constructed in just 112 days. Not planned in 112 days. Not designed in 112 days. Actually built from empty ground to fully operational offices in less than 4 months. This kind of construction speed is almost impossible to match anywhere else in the world. The scale keeps growing. Entire residential districts have been completed. Schools have opened. Hospitals have been built. Underground parking garages, larger than most shopping malls, have been finished. Massive parks and artificial lakes have been created to make sure Xiongan has plenty of green space from day one. And here is the wildest part. Even after 7 years of construction and over $100 billion spent in the initial phase, Xiongan is nowhere close to finished. What has been built so far represents only a fraction of the full plan. By 2035, the complete vision calls for a population of up to 5 million people occupying an area that would make Xiongan larger than most major cities on Earth. If you're enjoying this deep dive so far, hit that subscribe button. There is more coming that you will not want to miss. Now, here is where the Xiongan story gets interesting in a way that most coverage misses. The buildings can be built, the infrastructure can be laid, the technology can be installed. All of that is happening on schedule. But there is one thing that Chinese planners cannot force to happen, no matter how much money they spend: getting people to actually move there. This is the real test of Xiongan. And so far, the answer is uncertain. For all the construction, Xiongan is still not a fully populated urban center. The permanent resident population is a fraction of what the project was designed to hold. Government agencies have been slowly relocating, but many of the most important ones are still headquartered in Beijing. Major corporations have built offices in Xiongan, but many of their key employees still work primarily from the capital. Chinese state media has reported growing populations in Xiongan, with hundreds of thousands of residents now living there permanently. But 5 million by 2035 is a different scale entirely. The problem is a difficult one. Beijing residents have deep roots. Their families are there. Their children go to school there. Their friends are there. Even when Xiongan offers cleaner air, less traffic, and modern infrastructure, convincing millions of people to leave everything they know and move to a newly constructed urban environment is one of the hardest challenges any government has ever tried to accomplish. To speed things up, Chinese leadership has taken direct action. Certain government agencies have been ordered to move to Xiongan. Universities have been required to open campuses there. Major corporations have been strongly encouraged to relocate divisions to the new area. Some workers have been given significant financial incentives to move. But the question remains, will Xiongan attract the millions of residents it was built to hold? Or will it become one of the most beautifully constructed, underpopulated urban environments in history? Nobody knows the answer yet, and this is the single most important factor that will determine whether Xiongan becomes a success story that changes urban planning forever, or an expensive lesson about the limits of what governments can build. Here is a question I would love your opinion on. If you were living in a crowded city like Beijing and your employer offered you a job in a brand new place like Xiongan with a much better quality of life, would you actually make the move? Or would leaving your existing life behind be too hard? Let me know in the comments below. Xiongan represents something the world has never really seen at this scale. A modern superpower attempting to construct a major urban center on empty land using every advanced technology and planning technique available. Over $100 billion invested in the initial phase alone. An area that will eventually be larger than most cities on Earth. All of it built from nothing in less than a decade. If Xiongan succeeds in attracting its planned population, it might change how nations think about urban development for the rest of this century. If it fails, it will become one of the most expensive lessons in urban planning history. Either way, what is happening in Xiongan right now is genuinely historic. And most people around the world have never even heard of it. That is why I made this video. Because these are the stories that matter, the projects that are quietly reshaping the future while most of us are focused on other things. If you want to keep discovering stories like this before anyone else, subscribe to GeoVector Insight right now and hit that notification bell. We publish new content on the megaprojects, technologies and decisions transforming the modern world. And tell me in the comments below, do you think Xiongan will actually reach its 5 million population target by 2035? Or do you believe convincing people to move to a newly built urban center is simply too hard, no matter how advanced it is? I read every comment personally, and your responses genuinely shape what we cover next. If you learned something new from this video, please share it with someone who cares about how our world is being built. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.